Hi guys, so today we're going to just carry on from our previous video and completely finish off our mining script. So in order for our mining script to be a completed script, because it already mines and does what we want, but to make it a complete script that we would be happy releasing, we need to add a couple of things. So we need to add the ability for other rocks, so you could mine copper, you could mine tin, you could mine adamant, you could mine mithril, whatever you want. And then we also need to add locations. So I'm going to start by adding new locations. So the first thing you want to do is think about what you actually need to do to add a new location. So let's think about it logically. So at the moment, the only thing that's going to change really by adding a new location is this walk task here. That is the only thing that's going to change. So let's take a look inside here. So at the moment we've got a path to the bank, and that is it. So all that has to change is this path to the bank. So to do that, what we're actually going to do is create a new constants class, and to do that all we need to do is right click old school RuneScape package and then new class, and I'm going to call it M constants, just because I know RSBot has its own class called constants and I don't want to get it mixed up here. So I'm just going to do M constants for mining constants. So in this empty class, all this is going to be is a class full of variables that don't change basically. So we're going to put everything. So the first thing we need to do is literally just highlight this top line, the declaration and initialization of the path to bank, and then just copy that and paste it into the constants class, and then import the tile, and then I'm just going to change the name of this to I'm going to change it to Lumbridge Swamp, and I'm just going to put a little note here that says Lumbridge Swamp Mine to Castle Bank. That way if we come back to it in a few months we'll actually know exactly what this path is. So now that we've got that in the constants, we could just refer to it here as this, but we're going to need some way for our user to select different ones, so we can't just hard code it and say, you know, use this path here. So instead of that, what we're going to do is we're going to empty out, we're going to change this from public static final just to public tile path to bank. And we're just going to delete everything and not assign it anything at all. So it'll just be empty like this. So public tile path to bank. So, and then we want to just open your constructor here. Now the constructor is what happens when you initialize, when you make a new object from this class. So what we're going to need is a tile array, and we're going to call it path to bank. And all this is going to do is, what we're going to do is we're going to set whatever's passed in here to this variable. So what we need to do is, because these have the same name, what we're going to have to do is type this dot path to bank, and what this does is it means it's referring to itself as in the object. So this object, as in this whole object, dot path to bank refers to this global variable here. So this dot path to bank equals path to bank. And now because this one doesn't have this dot in front of it, that's referring to the local variable, which is local to this method, and therefore it's this one. So it's saying this dot path to bank, so this is being assigned this. So now that we got that, it's a very simple change, and all we have to do is head over to quick mining, and we'll see we've actually got an error here because we need to now pass it a tile path. So tile array. So what we need to do is we just need to type M constants and then make sure that gets imported by clicking that, and then type dot, and then you'll see we've only got one option at the moment because that's all we've got in there. So dot Lumbridge Swamp. So we're just going to sort of hard code that and make sure it works and whatever. In fact, it does work. I'm not gonna show you it running because there's not much point, I suppose. Just take my word for it that that will basically, there'll basically be no change at all that you can recognize when you run this script. So what we're going to do, I should be at falador, because I recorded this video earlier, but I forgot to click record, so I deleted everything I did, and now we're restarting. So so you can see I'm at the copper. So what we're going to do now is we're going to need, this is the next location we're going to add. We're going to add falador copper. So what we need to do is we need a path from falador, the falador copper to the falador bank. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our path generator, click play, and then because this is kind of a weird area, this mine here, I'm just going to click 3 here, so it takes tiles every 3. I'm not sure why that's over there and not where we're standing. Actually, there was just a game update, I believe. That might be broken. Let me just check location. Alright, give me 2 seconds. Okay, so that is just some kind of bug from today's update. I don't think it should affect anything. We're just going to ignore it. Imagine the red squares weren't there. So we're just going to record our path as normal. So I'm just going to walk to falador bank, or run, because these scorpions will kill me. And just ignore the red squares as if they weren't breaking or broke. So we need to open this door, and then we're just going to run straight to the bank. I believe this is the optimal path to the bank, but I have not mined in falador in such a long time. Alright, so now that we're in the bank, we're just going to stop the script as normal, and then you'll see here that it's output our path. So we're just going to paste this into here. But what we're going to do, we're going to rename this to, actually we're going to call it, that's so loud, Dwarven Mine. So now we've got our, that's basically our copper path, so from the copper to the bank. So we kind of want to separate that out because we don't want to mess around making an entirely new path for every single ore type in that mine. So what we're going to do, that's going to be this will end up being the Dwarven Mine staircase to the falador bank. And then we're going to make another one below it, and this one will be the Dwarven Mine staircase to falador bank, and this one will be the Dwarven Mine copper to Dwarven Mine staircase. And now all we need to do now is if we copy this and then look across, so you can see, you see here that this Y, it was in the 9000, which is below the ground, so that's like in the mine, and then it suddenly jumps here, which is the real world. So we just need to take out these first tiles because they are the copper to the stairs basically. So now we're just going to do public, I copied them by the way, I didn't just delete them, so public static final tile copper, actually no, we'll put dwarven copper equals, and then we just want to paste those tiles inside there. So now what we're going to do, if a user selects that they want to mine at falador instead, what we're going to do effectively is merge these two paths together to create one path and then pass that into our walk, and that's super simple. So what we're going to do is, if we go back into our main quick mining class, now you'll see if they choose bank, that's where we need to give them the option, because this is the only one at the moment that uses walk. So if they choose bank, then we're just going to copy this here to let them now select, instead of user options, I'm going to call this location options, and we'll call it location choice. So we're going to give them the option of Lumbridge Swamp or Falador Dwarven. And then, so we obviously need to put location options here. I'm going to change this one to 0 as well. And then this should be called where do you want to mine. So then what we're going to say is if location choice dot equals Lumbridge swamp, then they're going to walk to Lumbridge swamp. Else if location choice dot equals, I'm sorry about how loud that is, by the way. I'm actually just going to mute that. Else if it equals falador dwarven, then this is where we need to add our falador path. So we're also just going to copy this here as well, and then just paste that there. So if it's not either of those, then we're just going to stop the script because there must have been an error somewhere. So what let's just copy this for now into here. So instead of Lumbridge swamp, we need to put here our two merged paths. Now we can't just do that like I spoke about the concatenator in the previous video. We can't just type mconstants dot copper plus mconstants dot dwarven mine. We can't just do that. You can't just add arrays together like that. But what we can do is we can treat them as, we can convert them into an array list. So we could do, there's a few ways of doing this, by the way. You could use a different library, or you could do the method I'm going to show you now. And I mean, I wouldn't say either method is better, but certainly just do whatever you're comfortable with. So first of all, we need to just make a new list, so list tile, and we're going to call this final path, and then we need to import tile. So list tile final path equals, it's going to be new array list, so new array list of tiles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to do final path dot add all. And what this means is we can just add all, we can add multiple elements basically at one time instead of doing dot add dot add dot add. So add all, and again we can't just type in our array list here because you can't just straight add an array list to, I mean you can't just straight add an array to an array list. So what we need to do is we need to type arrays dot as list, and then we need to type our array list. So mconstants dot dwarven copper, and then we need to import that arrays class as well. And then we're going to do the same thing again, but then we're going to add the dwarven mine. And then finally we need to convert that back to something that we can send here. So all we need to do is final path, because we can't just send final path over because it's not expecting an array list. So final path dot to array, that's the very first method it offered us as well, which is super useful. And then in the parameters for this we can supply a destination for it. So we're going to do what I believe is called an anonymous declaration, which means that we're declaring a new object inside parameters rather than declaring it here and then passing it in by its name. So we're going to do new tile array, and I'm just going to make it empty. So we're just basically saying final path dot to array and store it into a new tile array like that. That's all you need to do. And now those 4 lines, they just merge our two paths together and then add it to our walker. So what we should see now is if we compiled this and ran this, I believe it would mine the copper at falador. I'm just going to actually run this and make sure that I'm not missing anything out. So bank falador. Okay, so I believe if I start this script it should walk to the copper in the mine. So play bank falador. And then obviously the only option at the moment is copper because that's hard coded. And what we're going to do if this works is we're going to just add clay, and then I believe that's going to be the end of the video. There is a few more steps to adding clay, such as actually we'll go through them as we do it, just so we keep everything in order. So as you can see, this is working fine. It's working to the copper perfectly. It's going to get there. One thing I should say about the walking is, if you do use my walking class, the walker.java, then the path is actually, there's no randomization of the tiles, and I did that because if I add randomization and the path is too far apart, then sometimes it'll randomize even further, for example two tiles further away from that tile, and then you'll sort of get to unreachable points and it won't be able to walk. Now, a good project for you guys could be to actually add randomization to that, or I might look at adding it myself, and then if I do that, you will be probably required to do about 3 tiles between instead of 5 or 6. One other thing to mention about that is, if you do add randomization, then if you walk close to a wall, for example, when we walk through Lumbridge Castle, it might randomize as you're walking through the castle, and it might click into one of the rooms. So that's another issue that's potentially there. And also when you're walking to the bank, it could randomize and walk past the bank and stuff like that. So it's very finicky, and it's kind of annoying to perfect that. So anyway, I'm just going to run over to the clay, and then I'll show you what we need to do from there. So the first thing we need to do over at the clay, which is over here by the way, in fact, let's add, let's add clay, okay. Let's add clay. So here's the clay. So what we need to do first is we need to get a path from the clay to the stairs. So this doesn't have to be all the way to the bank because we're going to merge our paths, if you remember. So 3 tiles between, and then we're just going to walk to the stairs and stop the script. I'm going to go up the stairs. I'm going to stop it and then go up the stairs just so the scorpions don't kill me. But I am going to stop it before I go up the stairs. So the stairs are here. So stop the, actually 1 tile further. Stop the script, go up the stairs. Just like that. So now we've got our path here. So I'm just going to copy all of that and go into my constants. And then put a little note so we know what it is. Dwarven mine clay to dwarven mine staircase. Paste that there, and then I'm going to put dwarven clay. By the way, when I do this, when I put these at the end of the variable name instead of here, that's actually not the convention. Like, you probably shouldn't copy me on that because it's kind of silly. I don't know why I started doing it, but it's something I've always done. So I'm just going to walk to the bank. Actually no, I just walk to here, and then because I want to show you it sort of walking to the clay to show you it does work. So what we need to do now is we've got the clay here. We got enough to actually walk to the clay, but here we don't have a way for the user to actually select what they want to mine. So if we look through the code here, what needs to change when we, dependent on what the user chooses. So at the moment this line needs to change because they don't want to walk to copper. So we know that needs to change. And then at the moment nothing else needs to change, I don't believe. But it will soon. But so for now all that needs to change is that. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to put it, we're going to copy this one here, and I'm just going to paste it right below, so before everything else. And then we're going to change this to string or options and string or choice. And we're doing it up here because there will be other stuff that use this later, and we don't want to just paste this over and over and over again. So we're gonna, the other options are going to be copper and clay for now. Now you will notice that they will be able to select copper or clay for any location, but there might not be clay at that location. So it's kind of trusting users to only choose stuff that's actually there and what you've actually coded. So I mean, you could add checks and say if they've chosen this in Lumbridge. So you could do here if all choice equals clay stop script. But I'm not going to do that, because all that's going to happen if they do is the script's not going to do anything, and they'll probably moan a little bit. But you know, let them moan. It's their own fault. There's no clay at Lumbridge even, so whatever. So what do you want to mine? And then we have to change the options. So ore options and ore options. So now they've got the choice, but how do we do this? So what we have to do is we just say here if ore choice dot equals copper, then they want to mine this copper. Else if ore choice dot equals clay, then they're going to want to mine clay. So this is going to change to dwarven clay. Else, and then this is just going to be ctx dot controller dot stop, just like that. So now they can walk to the copper or the clay, dependent on what they choose. So I'm just going to show you it walking to the clay from here. So script play, I did that too quick, I believe. Quick mining. So we're going to bank clay at falador, and you'll see it's starting to work, so it knows it's doing something. It's got a little glitch there for some reason. I believe it was a misclick for some reason, I'm not sure why. Maybe the door just closed. I wasn't watching, to be honest. Alright, so we can see it works to the clay. So what we're going to have to do next is we're going to have to add the clay IDs, the clay rock IDs, so that actually combine the clay, because if you'll see now that it won't actually be able to click it because it's still looking for copper. So we're going to have to add that, and then we're going to also have to add something to actually, if they're power mining, we need to add something to allow them to drop it, and that's actually going to be it for this script. It's very simple and it's going to be very powerful. You guys will be able to either expand it and make your own mining script that works anywhere in RuneScape, or you could even turn it into a fishing script, a woodcutting script, anything like that. It's super easy. Fishing script does have some challenges because a lot of locations do have spots that are quite far apart, so you have to sort of, you can't just say go to this specific spot because there might be another spot over there, so you have to add something for that. So let's look at adding the rocket IDs. So view objects, so we can see it's 7487. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so 7487. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our constants file, and what we're going to do first is we're going to head into our mine class actually. So, and then we want to take away final static from the rock IDs, and then change this to rock IDs, and also change the following ones, which should error. So now that you've got that, what you want to do is you want to add a parameter here, just like we did before in the other class, and we're going to do int rock IDs, just like that, and we will do it like that. And then down here we're going to do this dot rock IDs equals rock IDs. So this dot rock IDs, so this equals this, and then because we've done that, we no longer need those two in there, but copy that line first. So copy, and then just make it empty, so just like that, and then paste it into our constants class like this. Actually no, I'm going to make some make a little comment first. So rock IDs, so we know that everything below here is rock IDs. So public static final int rock IDs, but instead of rock IDs it's going to be clay rock IDs. No, it isn't. It's going to be copper, sorry. Because clay was 7487. So copy that again. And then rename it to clay rock IDs and 7487. So even though there's only one value for clay rocks, we're still going to put it into an array because that's what this is expecting. You can't just pass it a single one because it won't convert. You have to put it into an array. So now what we're going to need to do is in here where we had the mine, what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to actually do if or choice dot equals copper, else if or choice dot equals clay, else ctx controller dot stop. And then so inside that, if you haven't guessed already, we're going to add this. So cut that from there, so copy it and then delete it, or just click cut. Paste it into the top one, and the top one is copper, so we're going to pass in m constants dot copper rock IDs. And then the second one is clay, so we're going to pass in clay rock IDs. So that should actually now mine the clay. So I'm just going to click power mine just so we can skip some of the setup. So quick mining, power mine, we're going to mine clay. And it does not work for some reason. Stop that for a second. Before choice equals clay, copper clay. That should work, I believe. M constants, clay rock ID 7487. 7487. Yeah. Let's try quick mining, bank, clay, falador. Where's my mouse? Oh man, I'm not sure why that isn't working. Mine this dot rock IDs equals rock IDs. Alright, so I'll show you a little bit how to debug stuff. So the first thing you want to do is you know that it's supposed to be doing this, basically. This is what isn't happening. So if we do, we can just go to here and type out system.out.println here, and that would basically just say, that'll just print out if we're there, if we get to there. So if we get to there, we know there's a problem inside this class. If it doesn't get to there, then we know it's getting hung up at a previous task. So quick mining, power mine, why not, clay, and now it works for no reason. Oh man, I forgot to compile it, didn't I? Okay, never mind, but that's how you debug stuff. It's just sort of trial and error. Add printouts to certain places, see what prints out, and then you know where the error is. So that's mining now. So we've added multiple rocks, we've added multiple locations. I believe that all that's left to do is actually, if you want to power mine at the moment, it's not going to be able to drop that. So I believe all that we actually have left to do is edit our drop class. Now, what I'm going to do here is, basically this is how we drop at the moment, and this is how we find what to drop. So it's hard-coded to copper ore. So what we could do is we could add every type of ore into this class, and then we could go through an if statement here, wherever here, and we can say if it's copper, if it's clay, if it's silver, if it's tin, blah blah blah. But that's super messy. You really don't want to get messed up with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use regular expressions. So what that basically does is it matches a pattern to a string, or a string to a pattern. So for example, that the period means any character. That means any amount of the previous character. So that's basically all you need to know for our patterns, because it's super simple. Oh, and that means or. So what we're going to do is, instead of selecting by ID, so we can actually delete this line, just so if you delete that line first, it's going to give us errors, so we know what needs updating, so we don't miss anything by accident. I may as well let this run so that I can show you the drop does work while we code it. So power mine clay. So the first thing to do is take out this, so delete that, and then instead of selecting by ID, we're going to select by the name. And if you think what's in common with most type of ORs is they have OR at the end of their name. So what we can do is we can match it by a pattern. So pattern, and then we're going to have to import that. Pattern.compile, and then you pass the pattern as a string, by the way. So pattern compile. So then our pattern is basically for OR, it's going to be period asterisk OR. So what this says is any character any amount of times as long as it ends in OR. So that's going to drop any OR, but clay doesn't match that pattern, so it's not going to actually drop clay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in brackets, and then we're going to put an OR, and then we're going to put some more brackets. So in this one, now we need to be able to drop clay as well. So literally all we have to do in this one is type clay. That's all you have to do, and you can add other things easily as well. I believe coal is another one, so you could just type coal like that, for example. I believe that's actually everything that I wanted to do in this script. Oh no, actually we still need to update this. So what we do here is start amount copper. You want to just change it from .id count just to count, and then same again here. So it's going to count the whole inventory instead of just the copper. And then for clarification, we will just change that to inventory. Start amount inventory like that, and then we'll compile that. And then once I shall restart it now. So power mine clay. So as I said before, this is quite a powerful little base that you've got, and you can turn it into anything you want. You could even make a combat script out of it, because you've got walking, and you've got multiple locations. You've got multiple. You could change the multiple ores to multiple monsters. So it's super easy to expand off this script, and you could it's really easy to convert it to RuneScape 3 as well. If you did convert it to RuneScape 3, the only thing that would change is anytime you reference inventory, it needs changing to backpack. So ctx.inventory would change to ctx.backpack.select.count, for example. And that's basically it. I mean, I hope this video has helped. I'm trying to get a fletching account at the moment so that I can actually not only rewrite my fletching script for release, but also rewrite it in a video for you guys so you can follow, because that will introduce you to widgets as well. So widgets are basically what you see, like the viewport is a widget. This is a widget, so if you type in pick at the rock, you'll see that this is probably the chat box because it's there. So yes, so that's the chat box. So that, I mean, it's super easy to use. and we'll hopefully when I get a fletching account we'll go through that. I can't do it on a level 1 account because at the moment my fletching script's broken, because when you get onto magic bows the widgets change, and that's why it's broken at the moment, because I've never had an account with that high fletching to actually do that. By the way, this is bugging out because we didn't change this, so we can just do interact.drop and then compile that, and you'll see it's bugging out because basically it's looking for a drop copper option. So that's what I was talking about in one of the previous videos. It that second parameter is kind of security, so you won't drop anything you don't actually want to, but because we want to sort of make it universal, we have to. So I'm just going to show you that working, and then that'll be the end of this video. So power mine clay. As you see, it works fine now. I'm just going to stop that. So I hope this video is useful, and I hope I managed to get a fletching account, because I think that will be really useful too for you guys. So thanks for watching again.